Welcome to the Grumpy Lynx. I'm Leo, your host. So where did it all start with the Grumpy Lynx? It was actually a story that I wrote years ago, and you can see, I actually wasn't too sure if I was going to call it the Moody Lynx or the Grumpy Lynx, but ultimately it ended up being the Grumpy Lynx. And my son Titi, because I really didn't know how to illustrate, I wasn't even trying, he illustrated this first story, and it turned out great. But we sort of realized that it would be too much for a 9-year-old to have to illustrate again and fine-tune all the pictures and everything. So I'll be releasing that story probably next year with updated illustrations. It will be called Little Black Box, but it's inspired by my original story, The Grumpy Lynx. And my son Theo, he also helped with naming characters and with the story as I was going along with it. And yeah, so this is me. I was really grumpy, and I didn't really understand why until I spent some time trying to understand myself better. But yeah, this is what inspired the story, and now this is what the podcast and YouTube channel talking about grumpiness. Also, I just released a new book called Lynx in the Sun, and this is the plush toy character. So that's Leo the Lynx is Lynx, and he's got a cosmic heart on his back and a computer helmet. It's tested for 0+, but I recommend 3 years and up, and make sure you remove any tags and keep them. And he is safe internationally, so you can buy him, and he can be sold anywhere in the world. Are you feeling grumpy today? I'm feeling a little grumpy. And I like being a little honest about it, or a lot honest about it, because I spent most of my life hiding my grumpiness, pretending to be happy, pretending that everything's okay, when on the inside I was very, very grumpy. And most of it due to repetitive negative thoughts and not liking my circumstances, I guess feeling I didn't have a say in them and I couldn't change them. And that sort of kept me there. So I want to talk more about that because recently, I found myself agreeing to do a renovation project upstate New York, not upstairs. It would be easier if it was upstairs. And I've done demolition and construction on and off for the past 20 years, and a few years ago I just sort of felt like, hey, I've got to stop doing this. I feel like it's abusive to my body. I've done enough of it. It's not really my area of interest anymore. I mean, there's definitely some creative aspects that I appreciate, but the grunt work and labor and all that stuff, I'm just not interested in doing anymore. And it's hard for people to understand that, it's like, well, you're good at it, you know how to do it, it's a skill, you can make money. And it's like, yeah, none of those things matter to me really. And the past few years and several years I've done different things, more creative things, but more recently writing children's stories and illustrating and creating stuffed animals. And it's really, I feel like that's really what I am doing, and I'm enjoying it, and it feels good. Yet the financial aspect of it, is taking time. So now this opportunity to do a renovation comes up, and I need the money, and I agree to it, and I find myself now not joyful anymore, and having trouble staying positive, and trouble having healthy relationships and dynamics with others. And it can be really confusing and frustrating, and then I feel like I'm in this perpetual grumpiness. And then when I'm showing my grumpiness and I'm communicating it, and before I didn't know how to communicate it at all. I didn't have self-awareness. Now I do. So I try to communicate, hey, this doesn't feel good, you know, so people understand where I'm coming from. But it is challenging for them to really understand, because I just said, hey, it's a great opportunity. Hey, you know, again, you're good at this. You can make money, all those things. And so, you know, I think it would be great if you have something to share too. You can send me an email or a comment. You could also, we could do a Zoom call or an audio call, and you can share your experience with being grumpy, being in a circumstance that you don't like, that doesn't feel good, that causes grumpiness either sometimes or now all the time. And, you know, how can we practice more positive thoughts and identify the decisions that we can make that'll make things better. And, you know, a lot of times there's people to blame. You know, I could say, hey, this person did this to me and that to me, and that wasn't nice, and that was unfair. And all those things may be true, but I think the root of it, the source of it, is how am I finding myself in this situation again? Why do I keep on saying yes when I want to say no? You know, so it's getting clarity on understanding how I'm creating my own reality, either knowingly or unknowingly, and how I can change it by changing my thoughts to better ones, and then which will help me make better decisions. So that way, when opportunities come up, I know when to say yes and when I need to say no, and navigate my life in a way that I can be less grumpy and more joyful and remain there most of the time. Because, you know, before I spent most of my life not there. You know, it's like life just seems to be, well, it's just the way it is, you know, it's just a pain, and it's not fun, and it's not joyful, and it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be hard and all these things. And I know that that's not true, that it can be joyful and positive even under unideal circumstances. Those things do come up, but I can always choose. You know, there's always another thought to be thought, and that's the positive one. And I do believe with practice that I can do better, and maybe you can too. And together, you know, we can create a more joyful, less grumpy existence for ourselves. And if we are in a really grumpy existence right now, that, you know, we can sort of work through it and little by little change it to, you know, to find out what makes us feel good and what makes us feel bad, and identifying those things. And then I can make better decisions. Wow, I have more say, and look, my life is changing as I'm learning why I say yes to things that I normally say no to, or why do I say yes to things that I almost always want to say no to, you know, out of duty, out of obligation, out of peer pressure, whatever it is. So yeah, that's what this podcast is about. I want to talk about grumpiness and owning that I've been grumpy, and it's my responsibility to change it. And it's not to say that other people aren't accountable for doing things that are unfair and not nice and mean and wrong and all those different things, but I'm the one putting myself in those circumstances and making decisions and saying yes and when I should say no. And I want to own that. And maybe you feel like you want to too, and you want to share your circumstance, your experience, whatever it is, and maybe we can get some clarity on it, and maybe we can be a little less grumpy, but we can still be authentic when we're feeling grumpy. All right, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you're interested in being on the show, send me an email, a message, and let me know, and we'll set it up. All right, I love you, and you're wonderful, just the way you are, which means that I love you unconditionally. And you're beautiful and talented and worthy of taking up space just the way you are. You don't have to change, but yet it's better that we do change, and so we can improve our own lives. All right, see ya.